So, good morning everybody, and it's a great pleasure to be here at the eINDIA conference. And this paper is about telecentres and women empowerment in rural Sri Lanka. And if you look here to the right, to the right is me, Peter Mozelius, and to the left is my colleague Henrik Hansson. And he was, the last time before the conference, he was in Scotland, and for some strange reason he was not able to get any visa to India. So he should be the presenter, but now I will do his job. But then when it comes to women empowerment, it's Silvia Gaiani, a woman from Italy, who is the expert. And when it comes to rural Sri Lanka, it's Niranjan Vegamana. So it's what is nice. This is a really international collaboration between people from 3 countries, and I think it was very interesting experience for me to visit Sri Lanka and to see what is the daily life in at the telecentres. So about our article and our aim is that we have been looking at the history of gender equality in Sri Lanka to see what is the background for women in Sri Lanka. And also because my part in this is that I am the one who knows about ICT and computers. Normally at Stockholm University I teach in software engineering and computer science. But the aim of this paper is to analyze and discuss the role of telecentres in rural areas and in Sri Lanka and their impact on women empowerment. We would like to see that this, to build telecentre, does it make any difference for women in their daily life? And for you that comes from Sri Lanka, like Niranjan and Murali and Dr. Heva there, I think you're very familiar with the Nenasala project. But maybe for you that comes from other countries, I should say something. That I think it's a very nice initiative. That and Nenasala, the word, it's Sinhala, right? Yeah, and it means about the hall of knowledge. And to build that, the telecentres in Sri Lanka, they should be like halls of knowledge. I find it to be a very nice idea, with the objectives to strengthening the democratic process and to have advancement in the peace process and to improve the quality of life of the people and to enhance the social and economic development. And I think for the 2 last ones, it's what we are looking at in this paper. So if we look at Sri Lanka, you have the map here. You could see that when we wrote the paper, there were exactly 600, but I think now it's 601 telecentres all around Sri Lanka. And what we've done here, what we have done in the field study, we have done interviews and observations at 5 different telecentres, and it's let's see, 3 of them are in the Ratnapura district, which is the district that is marked here on the map. But we also were in the Monaragala district, which is to the north of Ratnapura, and also one telecentre is in the Hambantota district, which is to the south, more or less, of the Ratnapura district. And I think all 5 these telecentres are in rural areas and what you can call quite poor areas in Sri Lanka. And we were very interested to see in this quite poor rural areas, what is the situation for women and what is the role of telecentres. And we also looked a little bit about the history of gender equality, when we should look at what is the conditions for women. And we started very far back in the history, 300 years before Christ, with the Bhikkhuni Sasana, which was a nun order in Sri Lanka. So I think that women for a very long time in Sri Lanka has been involved in decision processes, and also that women could achieve high and important positions in the propagation of Buddhism, but also in the earlier Sri Lankan kingdoms that mostly upper class females, but they had sometimes the equal rights when it comes to they could own the land and I think so. I think it's a very interesting history of Sri Lanka, and also when you go on to more modern times, is that the first female prime minister, some years before Indira Gandhi, they had a female prime minister in Sri Lanka. And even if they call her the prime minister who came in through the kitchen door, because it was her husband that was the prime minister before, I think it's a very obvious proof that women has had the opportunity to all kind of positions. And also in modern Sri Lanka, that during last year I saw that Sri Lanka, they had their first female paratroopers, they had their first female tuk-tuk drivers, and in what you can think is very male professions. And also that women, they have leadership roles, and they take active part in the development. But then you come to the very same thing as you see if you think that Sweden and Norway and Denmark in Scandinavia, we have a reputation that women have very good equal rights there. But you still have the same thing, that even if women have equal rights, they earn less than men. So when it comes to salary, it's not equal. And that was also what we found when we visited the telecentres. Okay, enough of history, and then we go on to the telecentres. So what we identified was the 4 different roles, and maybe we can discuss here later that if it's the same that you have in other countries when it comes to telecentres. But we found that, of course, you have an owner of the telecentre, and then you have a manager, and then you have operators, which very often are the teachers, and then you have the visitors and course participants. And we would like to look at what are the female situation in these 4 different working roles, 4 different roles. So what we find to be very positive is that for women that has a university education, that is telecentre in rural areas, it is not, otherwise it is not so many job opportunities for women. So telecentre, I think they really add something there. That there is a possibility for a career for university educated women. But also that women that works at telecentre, that they are very well respected in their local society. And also that people trust them when it comes to things, very practical things like leaving their children in the telecentres, that they have more trust for these female managers and owners and operators than they have for males. And I think also that it's important if you want to attract more female visitors to telecentres, it can be very important that you have female operators and owners. And also we find it very positive that these telecentres, that they provide meeting spaces and they can be seen as a forum for peer interaction in the rural community, which I think is very, very important, because in some rural areas you don't have so many fora for meeting other people. And also, I think what is the basic thing which makes telecentres so good, that it's not only for women, it's how to get information, how to get access to education, governmental information, healthcare, and all these other services. So very much was very positive, but maybe on the minus side, we have some small things here, that when it comes to the salary, that women occupy the less paid positions, and they don't have the same salary as if we look at men at telecentres. But I think the same thing goes for many other professions in many other countries, in many other situations. So it's not really a Telecenter thing. And that some of these female Telecenter managers, they reported that male Telecenter managers did not encourage them and maybe not to appreciate them as equals, that they didn't think that they could take care of the computer equipment in the same way as males could. So some kind of prejudices. Okay, if I should keep the time limit, I think I should go for the conclusions now. So we think that very important that telecenters open up new channels of information, and also that they create career opportunities for women in rural areas, which we find to be very good. And also that we believe, we'll ask some of you later here, the idea of the multi-purpose telecenter. For me, this is something that originally comes from Africa, but where they think that the telecenter should do more than only to provide internet access and computer access. So what we find in some of these telecenters, which was very nicely organized, is that they sold SIM cards for mobile phones, and they had a lot of different services at the telecenters, which I think also is the way how you survive in small villages on the countryside. And when also that they help the local people to sell the products on the internet. But I think to obtain this, if we should look for equal rights for everyone and gender equality, we find it important to provide further training, and if we should get rid of these prejudices that women can't do the same work as men can do. And also what these women asked for when we interviewed them, that they said that they need further training and also when it comes to how to handle with hardware things, how to repair the computers. And this, I think, maybe is the most important support for women. If you should be able to do the same work as men do, you need to have appropriate training, which also could go for men. And also a key factor is that English training, because if you should operate or own a telecenter, and I think whether we like it or not, English is the lingua franca now, and sometimes some minor problems have their origin in that the lack of skills in the English language. And this was what we discussed with the women, that they had, when they had asked for training just for this, when it comes to hardware and computer technology, it was not so easy. And I found it interesting here yesterday when I was in the exhibition hall here. I saw this, the Open Indira Gandhi University, that they had courses for telecenters. And I think something like that should be, I think, very interesting for... time. I go to, I think, my very last slide. And just before you will be able to ask me questions later, but I will ask you a question, that what is success? And when it comes here to telecenters, I think what we maybe could see like a difference between men and women at telecenters. And this is a quote from one of the women that we interviewed. And she said that men focus on financial success rather than social success. And what was very impressive for us, we see that, I think, for these women that we at these telecenters, I think they have some kind of social success, which is very nice. And I think we saved the questions for later, so I should leave the floor to the next speaker. But thank you very much for your attention.